This is episode 5 of creating my very own finance app. If you haven't, I recommend watching the previous few episodes to catch up on what I'm doing. But to recap, I am currently making a part-time job tracker where the user can add, delete and update a part-time details. The part-time details will include the date of the work, start time, end time, bonuses, tax, etc. So with that out of the way, let's go. The codes of these steps are similar to what I did for the jobs, so I will not go through the specifics but rather the key differences between the codes of the part-time and the jobs. And let's start with the form to add part-time. I added a new variable date so that the user can add this part-time for the specific day at any time. After the user fills in the form and submit, the code of the post method is still the same. The difference is that instead of the regular variable called ID, I call it job ID as it is what is used to get the part-times for their job. And it's not just request of params but request of params.id, which means the URL that is represented with ID. What is the difference? The program will know that this means to get a specific variable ID from the URL and store it in the variable ID, whereas this means to get the variable ID from the URL and store it in the variable called job ID. For updating and deleting the part-time, it's also the same as doing it for the job, just that when I want to collect the ID through the URL, I first call that part of the URL as PTID, which means part-time ID. Then I collect it and store it in itself. With the API done, it's time to go to the front end. I added one path to the add part-time page and one path for getting to the details of the part-time itself. To display the part-time details on the new page, it is done with the following code. I extracted the ID, which is the ID of the job, and PTID, which is the ID of the part-time day, from the URL. I initialize the part-time and job variables using useState to store part-time and job details respectively when I fetch the data. I also initialize the onUpdate variable to toggle update mode, which is used to produce a form to update the part-time. I will explain what does this mean later. I initialize the variable navigate with useNavigate so that I can use it to navigate to a different page. This use effect is used to fetch the part-time details. This use effect is used to fetch jobs. Each of them run when these variables changes. This is to display an error message instead of breaking the page if part-time of a job is missing. It also serves as a delete feature to buy some time for the job and the part-time to fetch fully before going to display them. For the return page, handle click function is called when the back button is clicked, which navigates to the page where all the part-time job entries are displayed. Handle delete function is called when the delete button is clicked. It does the following, which is similar to deleting a job, just that the API is different. This fetches the ID of the part-time of the job with this ID. The handle update function is called when the update button is clicked. It sets onUpdate to true, which when true will display the update part-time form page. When the updated part-time details is submitted, it means onUpdate is called and sets the job to the updated job variable, which is the data passed from the form, and then lastly sets onUpdate to false. The part-time details is sent to the form as props. If onUpdate is false, it means that the user do not want to update, hiding the update form and showing the normal part-time details again. This then displays the total pay, which is calculated using the following formula: the number of hours from start time to end time minus the number of hours of break multiplied by the pay hour, date of work, which is the formatted date variable which turn the date input into readable format, start time, which is the formatted time variable which changed the start time format to 00:00 format so that when the user inputs 800, it should display 08:00. I might switch the text input into a time format input in the future so that I don't have to do all this. The details will also display the end time, which is formatted the same as the start time, break hours, break pay, part-time bonus, and the part-time hours, which is calculated using the following and activates the format and round function, which turns the whole number to decimal. The update form works similarly to the regular job update form, but it's for updating part-time job details rather than the general job details. The form is rendered with part-time as props, which allows the user to edit the specific part-time job details. A small mistake that I noticed is that when the job is deleted, the part-time database still have the part-time details of that job, which doesn't make sense. I go to the backend API, then to the delete job endpoint. In the endpoint, I deleted the part-time details that contains the job ID of the ID in the URL with the delete many function. Then store it in the variable part-time and turn them into JSON format to be fetched by the front end. That's about it. For the part-time list page, what I want to do is to show the total pay based on the filter that the user can choose. So there's two aspects: the filtered start and end dates and the total pay. The user selects the start date and end date using the date inputs. These values are stored in filtered start date and filtered end date using useState. After the user picks a date range, only the days that the part-time jobs that fall within the range will be considered. The filtered part-times array is created by filtering part-times to include only entries where the entry is on or after the start date and the entry is on or before the selected end date. Once we have the filtered part-time jobs, we calculate the total pay by looping through filtered part-times using .reduce, which accumulates the total pay. For each part of the job P, we calculate the hours worked. This gives the raw duration worked in the whole number, convert it into a decimal time, subtract the time taken for breaks, multiply the work hours by the part-time rate to get the pay for that day, sum everything up to get the total pay. Then I'll display the pay at the top. So yeah, this is how I play with the part-time details, change minor issues and do the date filters. Anyways, that's my opinion. Bye.